This is War for the Spirit. I'm creating this channel so that I can help my brothers and sisters in spiritual growth. I'm hoping some of the information that I've given you has aided you on your battles and your day-to-day. I plan to make today is about authority. Different forms of authority, God's authority, and then the authority man gives himself over to. For you to be able to be in God's authority, you have to acknowledge and recognize God so that you can stand in his authority. Because the authority you submit yourself to gives you control over certain things, but there's a God-given authority over things that you have control over, ultimate control over. And you might submit yourself to different authorities that you give control of these things, but ultimately you always have the ultimate authority over these things. And when you recognize God's authority, you stop giving the authority of those things over to different, spirits, demons, and entities that might be constructing and controlling your life. Like your mouth, you have ultimate authority over what you say. But you may, work for a certain group or, get paid for saying this or saying that. So you may give some authority of your mouth over to another group. The same with your hand. The same with your children. The same with your home. Your hand is your workplace. How you work, what kind of work you do. There's an authority available and present to that. How you do it, what you're willing to do. And because of those things, the things you have God's authority over, which is your family, your woman, your wife, your children, your home, your workplace, and all the other things that you have control over, they get to be operated on based on that authority. So if God's not leading your life and you give yourself over to a particular spirit, let's just use any particular spirit. Let's say lust. Lust leads you. Lust is the things that, you do everything based on lust. If you had two decisions between, getting something and getting something with lust, you would choose lust. So because of that, everything that's under your authority has lust as a component or option for lust to invade or affect it. So your home has the lust spirit, dwelling in it. Your workplace may have the lust spirit dwelling in it. Your children, although they're small and they're not, able to really indulge in lust like, an adult, they may have the mark of lust on them so that people who are willing to deal in lust, for some reason, they're more attractive to your children. If somebody's possessed by the spirit of lust and they may like children, they will see your children in a crowd as unique from the other children, just because they're stamped by that particular spirit that you have given yourself over authority to. So because you have given yourself over your personal authority over to this spirit, everything that is under your control becomes able to be affected by that spirit. Now, these are all spirits that you decide to give yourself over to. And the child won't recognize, lust inside themselves, but they may recognize lust on the people who engage them. So you have to be careful who you give your authority to. Unless you're walking in the authority of God and you recognize your children, your home, your woman, your work that you do is under his authority, you're going to operate in such a way that's going to benefit you or minimize any kind of suffering. But walking in God's authority, you're going to embrace the fact that you will have to suffer for these things, and they're going to help to construct your reality based on God. And the suffering associated with it, you'll be willing to take. And also, you won't recognize, but you will still do that. There's going to be some suffering in life that you can't get away from. But God will point you in the direction of the most minimal suffering. It's just that you'll see it up front, as opposed to the devil, which he'll demonstrate that there's no suffering and make you take all the suffering on the back end. But the way that the world works is suffering cannot be escaped. It's just a part of life. There's going to be suffering. Either you're going to choose your suffering or you're going to allow suffering to blindside you. So in that, you want to consider what it is that you indulge in, because you're going to put that spirit on anything that you have authority over. That includes your children, your workplace. if you are maybe a business owner or something to that nature, and you have a business and the people who work for you give you authority over them, they pick up when you call, they take whatever you say in high regard, or they shape themselves as far as what it is that you expect from them, and you have a particular spirit on you, that spirit is going to be able to affect them in their lives as well. So putting yourself in a high position and also not recognizing that giving yourself over to a spirit is going to affect more than you have to be accountable for those things when the day comes. So glory to God. I hope this message has helped some of you in your journey so that you could take greater authority over your life and recognize God, so that you will, at that point, anything that submits itself to you has a level of authority over it by the spirit that you're dealing with. So your children and anything that submits to you has a component of that spirit affecting how they deal. Either they'll be operating within it. So, once again, with lust, they'll have lustful things leading them. Lust doesn't always have to be sex. They could just be lusting after something. So, they having a desire for something will be, a component to why they make their decisions. And that's going to be a portion of what scopes and shapes their life. Or they don't deal with the spirit, and in which case the spirit has grounds to give them something to combat with. So the people they'll come into conflict with will be based on the other person lusting after something. It may be them directly, especially if they're a woman or they're attractive or something like that. But it may be anything going on in their life. This person wants your position and they lusting after it. They may want something, but lust itself is just a desire, like an unfulfilled desire. So because of that, because a lot of these things are sneaky, which you don't understand the way that the spirit operates, so you'll consider lust to have everything to do with sex, and lust isn't just about sex. So you can't understand how it would affect somebody who is just not engulfed in sex, and how lust, them desiring after something is when they, they feel the good feelings that come from the spirit. But these spirits have the ability to apply a feeling within you, and that's how they usually make you move or don't move. They'll give you the good feelings when they with you, or you submitted to them, or they trying to get you involved in whatever it is they're trying to get you involved in. But they also have a negative feeling, which is different kinds of energies that when they around people that won't deal with them, they have a I won't say a bad energy that they give off. So when they like you, they make you feel good. Lusting will feel good, and they will see the good part of lust. But if they don't like you and you're not dealing with it, you might be one of the children of somebody submitted to lust that fights lust. You don't deal with the things that you have a desire for. You might cut stuff off as opposed to chasing after it. So the spirit can't really use you, and in which case it'll make you long for things, and you'll feel the suffering of lust. Like you might want something that you can't get, and that'll be the history of your life. You wanting stuff that you're not unable to get. For the channel by liking, sharing, and subscribing.